Welcome to the Leaky VW's YouTube channel, and if you can't tell by the giant piece of cardboard I have under this car, the channel name is kind of fitting. So if you've never been here before, this is my 1987 Scirocco 16 valve, and I bought it after it's been sitting for well over 20 some years, and today I'm going to see if I can get it running. But first, I'd like to give a big shout out to a sponsor of today's video, Heritage Parts Center. So if you live under a rock and you've never actually heard of Heritage Parts Centers and you own an old Volkswagen like this, then I think you're seriously missing out. Heritage Parts Center is a company based out of the United Kingdom and can provide many of the parts that we struggle to find here in the United States. Heritage is one of the largest suppliers of classic Volkswagen and Audi parts. The team of extremely knowledgeable enthusiasts over at Heritage should be able to help you with any sort of part-related issue you may have with your old classic Volkswagen or Porsche. If you need any new parts for your old Volkswagen, head to heritagepartscenter.com and use code LEAKYVW at checkout for 10% off your order. I'd like to once again thank Heritage Parts Center for sending me out the parts I desperately needed to get this thing going, and let's hop back into the video. So fortunately, this car has been sitting for a long time, which has kept it clean over the last, say, 20 or so years, but unfortunately, the previous owner left a ton of gas in the gas tank, so now I have to drain that out. So yeah, the tank looks tanky, I guess. I don't know, there's some gas in there for sure. So I guess I'm just gonna suck that out and see what happens. Shout out Jeff Bezos for this fuel siphon, electric fuel siphon thing, because I don't have to suck this gas out now, and that would kind of be like disgusting. So I just got an old empty gas can here. I'm just gonna suck out this fuel into here now. So, did the best I could to scrape out what I can out of the tank, and overall it's not horrible. Other than just this little bit of rust in the bottom, the sidewalls of the tank are actually in decent shape, and I don't think this is going to be a big issue, but if it ends up being a big issue, then I will just drop the tank and just replace it with a new one down the line. So now I'm going to go get some fresh gas for the Scirocco, and by go get fresh gas, I mean steal it from the rabbit. Now I'm just going to add the fuel I stole from the rabbit into the tank. I'm also just going to add some Techron into the fuel just to get any of the remaining crap that's just in the lines and just kind of just clean the system as the car runs for the first startup. So because I have about 2 gallons in the tank, I'm going to add about a 1/6 of this since this is good for 12 gallons. Now that we have the fuel and the Techron out of the tank, let's cap this thing off. See if we can't get some fuel to the fuel distributor. Well, I was hearing the fuel pump turn on when I was turning the key over. Turns out that this lift pump just is dead. I put 12 volts directly to the pump and it's dead. So now I gotta wait to order a new one. And I guess I'll jump back in when it's here. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that pump, just jacked up my car and now I'm just gonna do a quick oil change. Honestly expecting it to be more black. Oil's looking pretty fresh, to be honest. But you know, it's definitely old, so I'm glad I'm replacing it. So we got a Pronto filter. I don't think I've ever seen that before, so we're gonna replace it with a good one. The engine wasn't getting any fuel, and it turns out that the lift pump was dead. So thankfully Heritage was able to send that out. So now we can get this back in and get right back to work. Wow, this pump was yeah, super crusty. So no wonder it didn't work. All right, so I've got the battery all plugged in. Let's see if the fuel pump actually turns on now. That sounds like a fuel pump to me. So now I know that the pump works. I'm gonna use this new O-ring and install the pump back into place. So because this is a later model Scirocco, this is actually a CISE system, and because of that, there is it's kind of hard to see on camera, but there is a little surge tank thing that is directly connected to the fuel pump here, just so that the fuel doesn't starve under certain driving conditions. So thankfully Heritage Parts Center has that in stock, and they're actually very hard to find, and they're one of the only places online that you can find them. And since this has been sitting for so long with fuel in it, I wanted to make sure to any of the sediment or whatever would have been sitting in there for a long period of time out. So in order to get access to that, I'm going to take off the fuel pump. This housing here houses the fuel pump. I'm going to take that out of the way and slide it out just so I can get a little bit better access to that, hopefully. So as I took off these fuel lines, I noticed that they were all kind of pretty cracked and just really 40 years old. And I figured if they're not a problem now, they will be in the near future. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to replace all of these fuel lines with the closest I could find to 7 mil, which the stock size is, which is 5/16, and I'm just going to replace them all. I haven't really given a progress update in a while. So the molded lines make this job 1,000,001 times easier, but unfortunately it's 2025 now, and this car, being an 87, nearly 40 years old, and just obscure that nobody buys these anymore, or none of them really exist, to be honest. They just don't make these lines. So you have to make them yourself. And the problem with that is that the contours of the body, it doesn't fit. So you're fighting everything here, all the marks of the body, and also these clamps, they don't clamp super tight because you need to get, these are 7 mil lines. It's impossible to get 7 mil fuel line in a timely manner in the US, so we're running this technically 8 mil. They don't snug up perfect, so the likelihood that these are going to leak are very high, and I'm just kind of throwing this together, and I've been suffering underneath this car for hours now. But now that I've gotten this in place with this clamp, everything's kind of back together. I'm going to throw the fuel pump assembly and the accumulator and everything back in here, and then see if we can finally get some fuel up to the front. I got nothing.
Huh?
I said I got nothing.
Nothing?
Just took off the accumulator line just in case I did the silly. So let's try this thing.
Oh man, it's going.
Uh-oh. Is it from the same spot?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the whole line, like, I'll show you, but it's like the whole line, like, fizzes up. It's very weird. So it's been 3 weeks now, and I can't tell you how hard it has been to find this stupid line. I've been through multiple hydraulic line shops trying to get this thing made, and I ended up just having to find and source one. But now it's finally here, so let's throw it on the car. So I just put the new line on. So let's see if this actually leaks, or if we're gonna get some fuel up top. Do we have fuel? It appears that we have fuel in this bottle now. So let's see if we can actually see fuel get to there. All right, so I'm just gonna turn the key and let's see if we see some fuel go in there. Oh yeah, oh Jesus. Well, she definitely got fuel pressure. Oops, I just made a mess. That was a fail, I guess, on my design. Well, after getting gas absolutely everywhere, we can confirm that the gas is getting up to the feed line here, and that we don't have any leaks down there. So now we know that our feed line is getting fuel, I'm going to replace the fuel filter. But actually, now that I'm looking at it, this thing is kind of crusty in here, so I'm just gonna shoot some more fuel through there and try to clear a lot of this junk out. So I just wanted to pop the fuel distributor off, honestly just because I've never seen one before, but also because I really had no idea how gunked up this was going to be. And obviously I can't really see in there as of right now, but another thing was I wanted to see how clogged this air filter was, because judging on how hard it was to get off that stupid thing, it just probably hasn't been changed in a long time. So I'm going to see if I can just kind of pop it off without having to take any of these fuel lines off. Without damaging them at least. Let's see what this air filter looks like. The air filter is pretty crusty. Oh. And there's a mouse nest in there. As you can see, some mice have been living in here for who knows how long, so I'm gonna evict them real quick. So now that those mice's squatters' rights have been revoked, we're going to take the best filter brand known to man, and we're going to throw it in there. So if you're not aware, these CIS fuel distributors are pretty much impossible to rebuild unless you know what you're doing. And obviously I don't know what I'm doing. I pretty much decided that this engine is going to have to come out to be at least regasketed. I'm honestly not even really sure if I want to stay with the 16 valve at this point, but let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see. I'm not opposed to keeping the CIS system and just rebuilding it, but I also am interested in doing a standalone, like a Mega Squirt, as well as maybe even swapping into a totally different engine. I'm kind of open at this point to any of those options, because this car is just currently fitting the channel name, which is Leaky VW, and this is in fact a Leaky VW. But anyway, I'm just gonna shoot some like carb clean and wipe this out a little bit, just so there's no gunk going into the intake, and then we'll bolt it back up and see what happens. Did any water or did any like fuel like back squirt?
Back out? No.
Yeah. Alright, cool.
Not that I really.
Hold on.
This in there. Now we have a good mixture of Mountain Dew and fuel.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna do that a couple of times until the fuel that comes out of there doesn't have crap in it.
Actually, yeah, I guess it did come out a little bit though. Yeah, it's dripping.
So the engine's all back together for the most part. And I pulled the fuel pump fuse so that I can crank this thing, get some oil moving through the system without having fuel going in it so it doesn't want to start. And then once I confirm that the engine is turned over a couple of times, I'll put the thing back in and we'll crank this thing over. And just in case, let's let's grab this.
I mean, pulleys are turning.
It sounds like it's turning. I just don't know if it's. Let me check the voltage of the battery.
Yeah, it sounds a little like struggly.
It sounds cold.
Yeah, it sounds like. Well, it also sounds like it could be just nothing's lubricated, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's going. Oh.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will lube it up. 26. I think I put it in the wrong setting.
It's 26. You got too much.
It's got 12 point
Yeah,
something
that's
something.
Probably good.
Here, can you look at this and just see what the voltage is
I'll see how it drops
when I'm cranking it?
Yep.
Because this should have the same cold cranking amps as the battery that came out of it, and according to AutoZone, yeah, should be correct. All right, ready?
Yeah, I mean it goes down to like 10.
You can plug the fuel pump back in and see what happens. Just see if it starts.
Yeah. So the process you're doing now, you're just trying to get.
What I'm doing is I'm because the engine is the ring gear, because it's starting, it turns the engine over, obviously, right? So that moves the oil pump.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is, because this thing's been sitting so long, I'm just trying to get oil up into the internals.
So how many times do you need to do that first, really, to get it lubricated good? You know what
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can see that there's oil up in the head here.
Okay.
So I think, let me get a light. What happened? Yeah, I mean, there's oil in the head. So this thing is seeping so bad.
What's that?
It's seeping oil from the valve cover so bad. Right there. So it's just like leaking from right there. It's a little rubber doobie because they didn't replace it. They just said, let me throw some RTV on that thing. And then so pulleys are pulling. All right, let's see what happens.
I'm not seeing anything dripping here.
That's good.
Wait, should this be the time I'm should this now be the time I should be?
Maybe. I mean, I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna start it, and then once it like starts, I'm just gonna turn it off.
If it really starts. Just doesn't seem to have enough oomph. I mean, it's got a little bit more, but it just doesn't seem like it's got enough to get that spinning decent.
So I've done a lot of diagnosing on the car, and from what I'm seeing on the Bentley, the entire vacuum system with this car is completely messed up, and I've just been kind of going through the process of trying to fix that. But before I get too deep into things, I just got some starting fluid here, so I'm just going to shoot some starting fluid into the engine just to see if we can get it to start. And then if we can get the engine to start and I know that it runs for sure, then maybe I'll go a little bit farther into diagnosing this. But I've been waiting to upload this video for probably, honestly, almost 2 months now, so I'm going to do this and then make sure that I can get this out to you guys. So I'm just going to crank it and see what happens. Ready?
It just to me,
It's got a weaker crank.
yeah, it's like weak. Like it should be that pace should be faster.
Yeah.
Is it just because it's not hasn't been turned over in forever?
I don't know. It's some old lady owned it. It's old, like the lady. Well, hold on, I gotta open up the thinger here.
Well, I was just gonna spray it like.
Yeah, just spray it right in there. All right, let's see what happens. See if anything weird happens with the like fuel distributor or whatever. Well, I have no idea what happens. spark.
It's just not getting fuel.
Yeah, so
the fuel
this thing is
not distributing.
exactly. I don't know if the distributor is distributing or like what. So it's just kind of
shoot some. Well, did you try to leave it just run without?
It died. Like I didn't. It just like I was cranking it. It just popped, and then it just like that's it.
Okay. So no.
I didn't clean the injectors, so it could technically be the injectors that are clogged. In fact, it probably is, but also could be that the fuel distributor is also gunked up.
Oh.
So, you know.
Yeah, so...
But let's just shoot some more in there and see what happens.
Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, just shoot it in the... You can shoot in the big one or the small, it doesn't really matter.
Accelerate. Blowy, uppy, stuffy.
Yeah.
I'm in the danger zone too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's no exhaust on this thing.
Ether! Oh, it smells like straight piped Volkswagen.
Does it? Does it smell like... It smells like...
No, it smells like the Rabbit before we rebuilt it.
Okay.
Yeah, like just straight pollution.
Oh, okay, then I smell it. No, that just smells like... Yeah. Yeah, straight pollution, exactly.
All right,
Well,
cool.
now we've learned that. Now it's time to go get warm.
Yes. Well, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested to see more of this build, click subscribe and leave a like on the video to let me know that you're really enjoying this series so far. Also, let me know down below what you'd like to see out of this car. Would you like to see me get the 16 valve running good again, or would you rather me swap it to something else? I might have a couple of things laying around that could make this thing really cool, but just let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. Another huge thank you to Heritage Parts Center for sponsoring this video and sending me some parts to try to get this thing running good again. If you want to support me, check out their website, which will be linked down in the description below, and make sure to use code LEAKYVW for 10% off your entire order. If you want to support the channel, you can also visit clap.co and check out my merch line. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.